It's a lovely morning and a warm welcome to the program. Kunle Abiyo is my name. The importance of cocoa to Nigeria's economy cannot be overemphasized, though Nigeria gets her foreign exchange earning from crude petroleum. Yet cocoa remains Nigeria's highest foreign exchange earner among all agricultural commodities, of which the country is the fourth largest exporter of in the world, and third largest cocoa producer in Africa, accounting for approximately 12% of global production. According to available statistics, currently Nigeria's cocoa production capacity is around 340,000 metric tons. Ondo State stands out as the largest cocoa producer in Nigeria. It accounts for about 50% of Nigeria's annual cocoa production. However, Nigeria is said to be at risk of losing about $20 billion in cocoa exports within the next 3 years. The loss is likely to occur if the nation does not align with the Sustainability Adoption Roadmap. So this is our concern on the program today. My guest is already here. We'll take a break now. When we'll come back, we'll wait in Grant Running. Please do stay with us.
Policy for us as a state, because being on the state is playing about contributing about 50% of cocoa to the national cocoa productions, and having many of cocoa communities that rely heavily on cocoa. It shows that this policy, they call it EUDR, that the European Union, the deforestation regulations, which deal with any cocoa that is produced from deforested areas will not be acceptable at the international market. That is precisely the EU market, which is the Schengen countries. So this is deliberately, it is just a deliberate policy to stop deforestations and stop practices that are inimical to a transparent cocoa sector, especially looking at the issue of child labor, which has been a very paramount issues in our supply chains, that people should not deprive their children of opportunity to go to school and using them as slaves, and at the same time exposing them to assiduous work and assigning them to spray assiduous chemicals that will impact on their development, or taking them long hours where those children will not be able to be assured to live their lives fully. So those are some of those critical issues that the EU are the frown at, and to look at it that whatever you are doing in terms of applications of acceptable chemicals, in terms of whatever you are doing on your soil, whatever you are doing to maintain your ecosystems, because the truth of it is that the world has become warmer, as a result of climate change. We can look at the erratic supply of rainfall, which has not been like what we can usually say this is the pattern. We have seen high rise of sea, and we have seen a lot of floodings that have impacted negatively, and we have seen a warmer environment, and this is attributed to deforestation, because our trees are supposed to sequestrate. They are the ones that are supposed to sequestrate for us, and they are also supposed to consume the carbon dioxide while they release oxygens. So with what we are witnessing today, due to arbitrary entry of forested areas, arbitrary practices where there are lumbering, where people just cut trees for economic gains, this has impactedly affected our way of life, and this, if care is not taken, we are likely, the world is likely to face a severe issues. For example, in Asia of recent, they have been experiencing more turbulence as a result of the air flights, which shows that when you are not secure, even not to talk of land or sea, you are not secure on air due to high rise of turbulence. So this is as a result of climate change. So the EU came up and they said, yes, anything from December, if you can't put your house in order, if you can't control those arbitrary entry of protected areas or illegal felling of trees, you don't protect your ecosystems, you don't adhere to human rights, to protections of human rights, especially our children in those cocoa communities, that such cocoa will not be placed at the EU market. So they came up with due diligence, they call it due diligence protocols, whereby you have to, they know, they will first and foremost classify each country, whether you are at first, you are at high risk, you are at a standard or low risk. Those who are at a high risk, they must verify.
So they also have a mechanism of also monitoring.
Yes.
So I asked you two questions straight now. I know about the child labor. We as an organization, we have also gone to that to do a story about child labor in cocoa farming. But surprisingly, we were unable to get one. But could you speak to that? Could you say that you're also experiencing that, especially in those states?
Yeah.
And again, this about deforestation. As a national president of cocoa farmers, what exactly do you think could be done?
Thank you very much. And I think, like if you read, actually have opportunity to read the letter we wrote to the EU, it was to the public player. And in terms of child labor, like you realize that Ondo State happens to be a leading cocoa producing state, and it shows that we have high rise of child labor, because statistically it is established that cocoa and mining sector, they contribute high percentage to child labor, and so Ondo State is not immune to it. That is the truth. People import children. They import children in the name of cheap labors, and we know successfully that our farmers have been, how do I say, they have been hampered by low incomes successively. So for you to be able to avoid a competent labor, you have to pay more. So due to the fact that farmers have been in penury for longer years, this has actually affected to have a shortcut. Even when farmers' children are being used, even you ask me, there are communities that have even no what schools. So, but we know that when the time comes for harvesting, the preponderance of most farmers might likely resort to their own children. I mean, don't go to school at this hour because we want to go and harvest cocoa. So that time, but it is very it is something unacceptable practices. You shouldn't have stopped them. You shouldn't have stopped their life. This is likely to affect the overall development of such communities in the future. So that's why they say this shouldn't have been done. And as associations, there are a lot of things we are doing. For example, we have a partnership with ILO, we have a partnership with Federal Ministry of Labour and Productivity, with SUCO in Ondo State, the Ondo State government represented by SUCO and some other agencies that are with the state government here. Then we also have an understanding that we are doing, even presently there is an empowerment program for children in schools going on at these Ifedore areas here, as Ipogu, and one is happening to Ibuchi. Presently, this Monday, I'm supposed to be there, but I told them I'm in the program. Okay. The one that is going to happen in Ipogu is going to be at 12, which I said probably if I'm true here. But what I'm saying is that we have that with Lutheran World Relief. It's an international organization sponsored by USDA government for child labor. But the piloted state that is being operated presently is between Idare and the federal and local government. That's about that. They call it CLEAR programs. It's about using education as a remediation and encouragement and empowerment for those who
that will actually address our concern, because when you take a look at the figure that has also been put into it, that we might also lose, that's $20 billion. That's huge.
Yes, because that's why I'm saying that we are doing a lot in that regard, that government and CFAN, as an organization I represented, we are not sitting down, we are folding out. There are a lot of programs, like I said, there are a lot of programs. If I didn't come out to write some of those things and say, yes, this is what our station is doing, this is what government is doing, this is what Federal Ministry of Agriculture is doing, this is what state government are doing, nobody is coming to write our story for us. What we need, and that's why we said, is for us to harness what we have and look at some of those problematic areas, especially the issue of deforestation. What are we doing to reforest those deforested areas? Then are we controlling that we don't have more havoc? So those are issues. Then those who have deforested, what are we doing for that areas? What do we do? What is our legislation doing?
Would you say the farmers are even aware of all of this?
Yeah, this is exactly, if you look at that, I said every day, for example, there is a meeting we just call on 15 for all cocoa farmers in Ondo State. We have started to upscale this information system. You know, the farmers are in the terrain that are so difficult. This is sometimes technology cannot even reach them in terms of it is only one-on-one person relationship. And I said we have started, and this is exactly what we are trying to do. We have our own network. We have our own organs from national, state, local government, cooperative systems at the farm gate level. But because we cannot just stop achieve this in one day. So it is a gradual stage. So what we need is that, because the farmers are the central point of these regulations, because they are the one inside the bush, they are the one relating with our ecosystems, they are the one who can actually protect most such trees. They are the one that should not should back on deforestations of our areas in our drives to increase our productions and productivity. So this is exactly, so we continue to disseminate this information at every forum we create for the association. Then we have our own traditional mechanism of sending information. We have been doing that. So it is still a work in progress. It is not every farmer that has been able to.
Work in progress. When you also consider the deadline.
Yes, when we consider, for example, at the National Cocoa Management that was held last week at Bon Hotel in Nakure, the National Cocoa, which happens to be able, these are those questions we're asking ourselves. I mean, look at it, when we wrote to the EU, we asked them, we look at them that time frame, will it not amount to given for already popularized farmers if you don't extend it? And that's why we said the 18-month durations should be extended, which will last in this December. But like we discussed at the National Cocoa Management Committee level, which I remember that, what if these people decide not to extend? What happens? So I said, so a lot of
it's going to deprive
exactly. So the government acts. I mean, the National Cocoa Management Committee is now galvanizing whatever we have as a potential. Governance, the Sun Standard Organization of Nigeria, those who are concerned, the state government representatives, and those who are concerned, the Forest Research Institute of Nigeria, the Federal Ministry of Trade and Industry, we have the Federal Ministry of Environment, which deals with the environment we are talking about. We are all bringing them together to profile and actually look at what we have on ground, like I've mentioned. Like I told them, I said, we have things on ground. What we need is to get it right. Then we now build on it.
The other issue is the federal government is also targeting to have 500,000 metric tons of cocoa. But the statistics available shows that what we have at the moment is just 340,000 metric tons per annum. So what exactly are you doing to ensure that we get to that target?
Yes, thank you. If you remember, if you are able to Google and look at it, you know that it was CFA that set that target. We set that target 2 years ago. We set it that, yes, we should be able to achieve this in the next 2 years. That is 500,000 metric tons. And on that, the federal government stood on it, that, okay, if the farmers are saying it is achievable, and they tried. And so, subsequently, we have seen the Federal Minister of Agric and Food Security saying the same thing, I remember. And Federal Minister of Trade also, Industry, Trade and Investment also saying the same thing. But what we always say is that even when we are to increase, and we are at 340, 350, probably even coming back to 200,000 with the climate change. If you look at it, you know Ghana productions are dropped, and that's why we're having the spike. There is diversity of cocoa, where demands are what outnumber the supply. But coming back, the prospect is that because of this surge on tribes, yeah, it is achievable, like I said, even the present status of our farms. What we need is to just increase our productivity per hectare. And like I said, in Ondo State today, what we have here, if we increase our productivity and upscale it from 400 kilograms, you understand, to about 600 to 700, 800 kilograms, we will achieve that 500,000, we will achieve it. Every other state will have that potentials. People are ready. It is just for government at all levels and stakeholders like ourselves to continue to incentivize.
You are not even thinking of also bringing in new people.
This is exactly what I'm saying. You can only bring people when you incentivize. You can incentivize the present crops. For example, if you look at what is happening, an average age of cocoa farmer in Ondo State, in the West, is about 60. But when you go to Cross River State, it's about 40%. The difference is that you have more youth there. So what we are saying is that government must start to support the existing farmers and encourage the youth to go into it. I said, naturally, traditionally, this is our business. Cocoa is our business in Ondo State. Government does not need to preach much. But government just create this enabling environment. This enabling environment shows that you cannot just be going to a forest and be deforesting it because you want to create no.
People to come in.
There must be cocoa and agroforestry strategy whereby you bring youth to know that, yes, as you are planting cocoa, you are planting trees. Not only that, you are protecting the indigenous trees, and there will be benefit because you have what we call carbon credit. Okay. So those states must start to look at that in terms of prioritizing. What I'm saying, the only way we can achieve and encourage the youth of Ondo State to go into it and double, because don't forget that Cross River State is already pursuing Ondo State. So what I'm saying is that the state must prioritize, even when we want to have red gold development. You can't continue to relegate cocoa because first thing they know Ondo State for is what? Is cocoa. So we must be deliberate. That's why I'm pushing whoever that becomes the next government, that form the next government, whether the present governor, whether another one, no matter, we must prioritize cocoa. We can't continue to play to be for Ondo State to make cocoa to be on autopilot. Because I realized that almost the last 3 years, what we have been hearing is about red gold development. You can't do red gold at the detriment of the one you have competitive advantage of. This is exactly what I'm saying. You can develop it pari passu, but you shouldn't undermine the one you have competitive advantage. Because if not, if care is not taken, people who appreciate it might actually take it away.
I also know that modernization is also a factor that's also affecting local production, but we won't go there today because of our time. But let's take a look at the spike in price in export of cocoa, because I can also see you smiling all through. It means that you have more money in your pocket as a cocoa farmer.
Honestly, the prospect is, I can tell you that what gives better forest opportunities for Nigeria is cocoa now. Because when you are talking that a ton is not less than 13 million naira, you know what it means. You can go to Ondo, you can go to Idore, you see that people, there is no doubt about that. But I said, for us to consider ourselves as millionaire in the cocoa valuation is for this price to stay consecutively for 10 years. Then you have a red-made.
Why do we have spike now? Is it not because of the dollar issue?
You know, it's not the dollar. The dollar is just a supplement. The most important thing was that there was a shortage in productions at the Ivory Coast and Ghana level. And this actually now creates a kind of a high demand where they have to be looking for cocoa. So these are exactly, and don't forget, for the first time, 40 years, it has never, this is the first time in 40 years to have this kind of spike. And so we pray that it's
so what's the price of kilo as of today?
You will be, at least you can't have it less than 13,000. That is a kilo. That's to tell you that it's a new dawn which the state must seize the opportunity. And I urge the state, there is a potential for the state to start to industrialize. And I said the only state government creations of chocolate is to revolutionize. How do we create value addition? How do we teach our locals how to make chocolate? So it is not just to be there on a private driven level. It is to make sure that we create a kind of consumption, a kind of business entrepreneurship for you to see values that aside productions of cocoa, there are other things they can make use of.
Because of our time, I'll ask you this one. What is the association doing in terms of this value share that we talked about? The chocolate, the processing companies are no longer there. We don't have as many as we should have.
Well, we definitely, because as a private organizations, we definitely be talking to government and our colleagues to look at how we can actually put funding together to drive it. But there must be an incentive, there must be an enabling policy from